Hi, I'm Heather French Henry, the host of Heart of Gold, a monthly program whose mission is to highlight examples of what makes Louisville, Kentucky the most compassionate city in the world, as declared by Mayor Greg Fischer. Compassion can take on many forms, ranging from individual acts of kindness to large-scale nonprofit organizations. This series features local nonprofit organizations of all shapes and sizes, which are working to improve the quality of life of all Louisville citizens. Thanks so much for joining us, and a special thanks to WHAS TV for producing this series. This segment features the Chamber of Ideas. It's a creative chamber of commerce whose mission is to help develop Louisville as the most creative workforce in America. Through a holistic approach that leverages the creative mind as an important resource for building conscious commerce, thriving culture, and fair communities, IDEA brings together diverse groups of people to create the way forward. For Ideas, being compassionate is about being true to its process, which is centered around respect and belief in people's intelligence to solve their own problems when offered opportunities and resources. We are pleased to have Theo Edmonds, co-founder of Ideas, with us today. Hello, Theo. How are you?
Hi there. I'm wonderful.
You know what? I'm doing great, and I got to tell you, the ideas, that's a big open word, right?
Yes.
In design and creative space, we use the term ideas for a plethora of issues and initiatives. So tell me about how Ideas started.
Ideas originally started as an exhibition program. I was working with a group in Brooklyn called Residency Unlimited, which is one of the better-known contemporary art residency programs in Brooklyn. And I was there as an artist, even though I have a background as a lawyer and a healthcare executive. I left that a while ago. But I was working with Residency Unlimited, and we thought it would be a great idea to connect Kentucky, my home state, with the artist scene there in Brooklyn. And so we just started thinking about ideas of what could be done, and the program director at Residency Unlimited just happened to have his MHA in curatorial studies from the University of Louisville. And so we put together a little exhibition program designed to tie those two communities together. And as we did that, we found a non-traditional space, which happened to be in a local community chamber of commerce here in Louisville. And a year into the exhibition program, it was going so well that we had the chance to actually take over the organization and run it. And at that time, we became the first artist-ran, entrepreneur-focused chamber of commerce in the United States.
Wow, well, that's obviously a big step, certainly. But when you talk about helping people to overcome through giving them opportunities and resources in a creative way, can you give me any examples of what that might contain?
Yeah, sure. And I think I'd like to maybe just back up one bit. When you start talking about artists, giving opportunities and helping to create jobs and doing these different things, most people look at you as if you've got a third eye, you know, or something like that. They just don't have that in their experience that said this is a possibility of a thing that can happen. And so as we found that happening to us, what we did is we developed two prototypes, and we explore the artist as business innovator and the artist as civic innovator. And in our artist as business innovator model, that is placing artists inside of corporations across every major industry cluster of the city of Louisville, and that is a project that is funded by the National Endowment for the Arts. We were successful in getting one of the more competitive grants that the NEA offers, the Our Town grants, the first time Louisville has ever received this grant, and Metro Louisville government is our partner in that. The other side of it is the Art Place America grant that we have, and that's exploring artists as civic innovator. And our partner there is Youth Build Louisville. Youth Build is a well-known youth development and workforce development program here in Louisville that works with at-risk communities. Every year there's about 400 or so young people from the Louisville community that apply for one of the 30 or so spots in Youth Build. So what we've been doing with Youth Build is helping them to expand their capacity. And this year, next month actually, we'll be announcing 30 new apprentice jobs in Youth Build's program. Youth Build is almost doubling in size from what it was last year as a result of our collaboration in part. We brought in Chef Ed Lee, and we're developing a teaching restaurant that teaches not only culinary skills but also entrepreneurship for the young people that come through Youth Build. So there's a culinary track now. And as we're becoming a more green city, we're also developing a green collar track. And just to give you an idea about some of the things we've done there, through my art contacts in New York, we were able to reach out to the director of the King's Garden at the Palace of Versailles in France. And last year, we sent 2 of the Youth Build students over there as a apprentice model. They came back, developed a program. This year, 4 students are going over there and coming back. So it's become this really wonderful kind of carrot that's out there for young people that are coming through Youth Build's now expanded program, that if they work hard and do what they're supposed to be doing, that they can actually become international green entrepreneurs.
Well, that's an exciting resume builder,
yes,
certainly.
Yes, absolutely.
So tell me a little bit about the Smoketown component.
Yeah.
I know that that is a growing area being renovated throughout the Smoketown area in Louisville, where Mazik Middle School is. Tell me a little bit about the future and what the Youth Build and your initiative has to do with Smoketown.
Well, Youth Build is just one of the pieces of Smoketown. Smoketown is the oldest African American community in the city of Louisville, and it is also the focus of what is now a $100 million HUD reinvestment program to redevelop Shepherd Square. And with that comes a lot of responsibility. Youth Build is one of the anchor institutions in the community, but there's also Mazik, there's Bates Church, Kentuckians for the Commonwealth is located in the community, and there's a growing number of small businesses. So as we develop opportunities in the Smoketown community, I think the first thing that I would point out that it's not just one thing that is happening there. It's a lot of people working together to create something that is more than themselves, and to turn Smoketown's future into one that is a community of learning and a community of opportunity. And as we go about doing this, there's some things that have really excited me. Is the Neighborhood Association for Smoketown has reconstituted itself and is forming again. And there's a number of young people coming back into the community. About half of those who move back into Shepherd Square are going to be young people. Young, grade school, middle-aged, and so developing opportunities for those young people is going to be increasingly important as those families return. About 440 families are returning by next year to Shepherd Square. We've incubated a young group of artists in the community who are using after-school art programs to teach science and technology, engineering, and math. And you have a child at Mazik, so as you know, as a math and science magnet school, that is also the local middle school, if you're from the Smoketown community, right, that you will go to. Now, what's interesting about that is often there's not really been the crossover that there could be in the co-learning for all the students in that school. I don't think that's the fault of anyone, it's just how it's evolved. So we're really working at creating a more integrated community in terms of programming and things that can happen, because any community is going to rise and fall based upon its weakest member, right? And so developing those young guys from the ground up and providing them access to opportunities they may not otherwise have is really, really important to us.
Well, give me an example, because our big STEM ideas that we have today in science, technology, engineering, and math, and tell us how you can utilize art to teach those fundamentals of STEM.
Yeah, that's a great question. In fact, there's a whole STEM to STEAM movement right now, and we're really happy to be part of that. So there's a couple of ways. When a person is going into, say, a music class, for instance, there's a great deal of math that is involved in that. When a person is going into tie-dyeing, or I mean not tie-dyeing, but silk screening, there's a great deal of, you have to mix paint, and there's proportions, and you're measuring things, you've got great creative problem solving that is coming into play in that. We have a book making class, and so when you're dealing with books making, you're dealing with geometry. So those are just a few of the examples of the ways in which that can happen. The possibilities are limitless. In fact, right now, Harvard or Chicago Booth School of Business has an artist in residence in their School of Business who's a dancer. And so we're on the front edge of it, but Louisville is very much part of a national movement to integrate arts across platforms. Arts are no longer something that is just siloed and
Right.
sitting over here, that they become valuable skill sets.
Now, the dancer who's the resident in the business, that's a perfect
Yeah.
segue. So I want to find out a little more, too, about when you say creative placemaking, I think that takes us back to our original conversation, your creative innovation zone may be your Smoketown, but creative placemaking, is that the business component? And how does an artist in a business environment, how does it affect the artist, and how can the artist affect the business environment?
Sure, that's a really important question, and it's one that we're exploring right now.
Okay.
Can't say that we have all the answers, but we have some really good early learnings coming from our program. Creative placemaking is a national movement. It started about 10 years ago, but when Rocco Landsman was the chair of the NEA, the National Endowment for the Arts, and now there are organizations like Art Place America, which is an innovation fund for creative placemaking that is funded by Kresge, Ford, McKnight, et cetera. And so as those organizations invest in Art Place goes out and finds artists who are working toward non-traditional artistic goals. Some of them are working using the arts and culture to make in social justice. Some are using it in workforce development. Some are using it in transportation. So there's no one way. There's a lot of exploration going on right now. The way that we're doing it inside of corporations is probably one of the unique programs that are in the country right now. In fact, we were just in Philadelphia last week with several of our colleagues from across the nation. So if you think about a corporation, it's a community in and of itself, actually. And while you have industries like healthcare and advanced manufacturing that are being disrupted every single day by small startup entrepreneurs, when you're a large organization or a large corporation, you're thinking about the future, you should be thinking about it in creative ways. But most CEOs will tell you that their business is not really a creative business, and I think that's because business is a linear process, whereas creativity is not. And so what we do in those specific situations is we approach it just like any innovation consultant would from a business standpoint. It starts with the business opportunity or the business need that is at hand. And then my curator partner in New York and I talk about the skill sets that would be involved with that, and we find the right artist to bring to the job. We have measurable goals, just like anybody might. And then as we do this, we're finding that organizations that we work with are becoming more dynamic in their own corporate settings.
Well, I certainly know as a person trained in design that going into a government role, it's interesting taking those design problem-solving skills and being able to work in a pretty static, seemingly static environment where you learn to think in a creative way about problem solving. How can we use a creative route to come out with something that's even greater, and that vision where you look at that broad spectrum. This is how I want it to be, and how do I build the steps to certainly get there. Tell me real quick how people can get involved in ideas.
Sure. You can visit our website, ideaslouisville.com, and we also can be followed on Twitter and all of the social media that may be out there. If you really want to get involved in ideas, pick up the phone or give us an email after you visit our website and come in and see us. There's not one way to get involved. As you can probably tell, there's a plethora of ways that a person could be involved.
And what about funding? So are you currently searching for grants? Can they donate if they go onto your website?
They sure can. We have we're a 501c6 business association, but we do have a 501c3 account set up through the Community Foundation of Louisville.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Theo
Thank
Edmonds.
you.
And again, if you want to find out more about ideas, go on to their website at www.ideaslouisville.com. Thank you so much for joining us.